Hey guys, so I was just going on here to answer a question about frequency tables that and histograms that a few of y'all have been asking me about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at two problems. I'm going to look at a frequency problem and a histogram problem that match up, that they use the same data, and that you are going to be seeing how histograms and frequency tables work together, how you can make a histogram from a frequency table and see the relationship between them. So the one we're looking at is on the AMI sheet that is on information about different Super Bowl scores. So it gives you the winning numbers from different Super Bowl scores, and it wants you to first make a frequency table. And this should be from day 2 of the AMI packet for those of y'all that are needing help with this one, where it says using intervals of numbers, and it gives you a bunch of winning scores. And it says draw a table on step 1 and label the 3 columns: tally, cumulative frequency, frequency, and then cumulative frequency. And then on step 2, it says complete the table using the data. So we should have something that looks similar to this. Here's the table. I wrote all the winning scores up there, and I went ahead and labeled the other columns the way they told us to. So I put tally right next to scores, and then I put frequency, and I put cumulative frequency. Now, cumulative frequency is the one that I've had several people ask me a question about, which is good. I'm glad that y'all are asking those, and so we can clarify any bit of confusion we have. So here's what we do on this. We're going to get to cumulative frequency at the end once we do tally and frequency. But what we're going to do is I'm going to look at the first range. My first range is 20 to 28. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this list of numbers. And every time I see a number that's between 20 and 28, I'm going to put a tally mark in the column for it. And remember, when you get to the 5th tally mark, you cross through it. You make a diagonal. So I'm just going to start looking through it and do that. And if I look at my list, I see 20 is between 20 and 28. And then 23 is between 20 and 28. 27 is another one that's between 20 and 28. If I keep looking through, I see another 20. So I'll put 4th tally mark for that one. And then I see another 20 on the next to last row. So there's a 5th one. So I'm going to cross it through and make a 5th tally mark. And on the very bottom row, the last number is 27, which is also between 20 and 28. And then what I'm going to do after that is, just so I don't get confused or get mixed up with my numbers, I'm going to go ahead and cross off all the numbers that I found that were between 20 and 28. That way, a couple of things. One, I don't mix it up and get lost in my numbers when I'm doing the next few columns or few rows. And two, that way, if I cross them off, I'll know if I have any missing or not. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to cross out 20, 23, 27, 20, 20, and 27. So that's what I have so far. Crossed all the ones out between 20 and 28, and I made 6 tally marks because there's 6 numbers up there that are between 20 and 28. Okay. Now I'm going to get on to frequency. All frequency means is how many tally marks you have over here. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my frequency is 6. Frequency is just how many tally marks you have. So I'm going to go ahead and label that. Now I have 6. Then cumulative frequency simply means how many have I counted up so far? How many tally marks have I done so far? Well, I've only done the top row. So far my cumulative frequency is just 6 because I've only done 6 so far. So I'm going to go ahead and label that as 6. All right, now I'm just going to rinse and repeat. I'm going to go find all of them between 29 and 37, and then I'm going to find all of them between 38 and 46, and then I'm going to find all of them between 47 and 55. I'm just going to keep putting tally marks each time. So I'm just going to start doing that. So I'm going to start with 29 through 37. So I see a 34, so I'm going to give that a tally mark. I see a 31, and a 35. So there's 2 more. I see a 30 and a 37 on the next row. And let's see. That should be all of the ones that I see. So, oh, missed one right there. 34 right there. So, just to recap, I found 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They were between 29 and 37. So, again, there was a perfect example right there. If I hadn't been crossing them off, I would have totally missed the one that I didn't see, and I wouldn't have had enough tally marks on there. So, I should also have 6 numbers between 29 and 37. Well, that ended up being the same as the other one, so my frequency, once again, is going to be 6. But on cumulative frequency, since I found 6 more, that means so far I found a total of 12. So on cumulative frequency, I'll put 12. So I'm just going to write that down and show you what it'll look like so far. Both frequencies are 6, and so far I've done a total of 12, so my cumulative frequency is 12. Okay, now I'm just gonna, I think we get the ideas from what we're doing at this point, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do the other ones here real quick. So 38 through 46, if I look through that, I see a 42 and a 39. And then I see a 46, a 38, and a 38. And I'm going to cross those out just to make sure I'm not missing one. Okay. And that gave me a frequency of 5 because I found 5 numbers between 38 and 46. Okay. And if my frequency is 5, well, so far my cumulative frequency is 12, so I'm going to add 5 to that and get 17. So far my cumulative frequency is 17. Okay. One more, got 47 through 55. Well, if I look to this list, I see a 49, a 52, and a 55. So that is 3 more. So I have a frequency of 3. And that means I'm going to add that 3 to my cumulative frequency from the previous row, which was 17. So if I add 3 to 17, I end up getting a cumulative frequency of 20. So there's my cumulative frequency of 20. So it looks like I have 6 between 20 and 28. I have 6 between 29 and 37. I have 5 that are between 38 and 46, and I have 3 that are between 47 and 55. Also, kind of a point to make here, if we check our numbers up here, if I count every number I have, there's a total of 20 numbers up here because there are 4 in each row and there are 5 rows, which is a total of 20. So what helps with cumulative frequency is to me, it's a way to check and make sure you have counted up all the ones and you haven't missed any. For me, it's a good way to check myself and say, okay, I got a cumulative frequency of 20. Should there be 20? And if I count all these over here, yes, there are. So that means I haven't missed any of the numbers. All of these should be accurate. I have placed every one in the correct column. So that's all there is for a frequency, or for a frequency table. So on a frequency table, that's pretty obvious. There's frequency in it, so frequency table. But frequency tables are the ones that you use tally marks on. So once you have the data from a frequency table, a histogram is pretty simple. Think of a histogram as a type of bar graph. Now, often when you're making bar graphs, you'll have them separated. There'll be gaps in between them. But that's not the same as for a histogram. On a histogram, think of it as a bar graph, but all the bars are connected together, which you see pretty often anyway. So basically just think a histogram is just simply making a type of bar graph. So I already have all the information I need to make it, because the question that we're going to look at for the histogram says, and this should be on day 3, I think, from the AMI packet. Sorry if I'm off on my days here, guys. But it is saying, it has a table at the top, and it says a histogram is a special kind of, and we would call it a bar graph. It uses bars to represent the frequency of the numerical data that's been organized into, I would call it different ranges, because the ranges we've been using are like 20 to 28, 29 to 37, etc. So what we're going to do is, it says on how to make a histogram on that page, it says use the example, the data from example 2, Super Bowl scores, to create a histogram. It says draw and label the axes, and remember the x-axis will be the intervals. And then it says draw a bar to represent the frequency of each interval. So there is a minor error they made on here, but it's nothing we can't fix. But if you notice on your paper, your histogram only goes up to 5, but we actually need to make it go up to 6. So I'm just going to focus on the histogram itself here. So for my histogram, here it is right here. I went ahead and labeled it. What I did on my histogram is I labeled my y-axis the frequency of the scores, and then on the x-axis I put the winning score intervals. And if you notice, same ones: 20 to 28, 29 to 37, 38 to 46, 47 to 55. Really, once you're done with the labeling, if you have the information from your frequency table, the rest of this is really easy. So once you have labeled your histogram, now it's as simple as go through your data and create a bar that reaches the frequency that you need for each one. Now, like I said, for some reason, they didn't give y'all enough row or enough high enough columns to graph. So what I would do on your graph, since you don't have 6 like I do, I would put a 6th one on the top. So I would just trace this 6th one, this 6th column or 6th level of the column on top of your histogram before you start graphing it. So just add an extra box, in other words, to each column. That way yours will be tall enough to make an accurate histogram. We could scale them, but to be quite honest, it'd just be a lot simpler, especially with this being our introduction to histograms. I think it's better to take a simpler approach and just add 1 to each column on that. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and look at my data on my frequency table. So if I go back and look at that, here's all my numbers that I need. Well, on 20 to 28, since my frequency is 6, on my histogram, I'm just going to fill it in like a bar. Just fill it in with your pencil all the way up to 6 on 20 to 28. And if y'all remember from your frequency table, 29 to 37 also was 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill them both in all the way up to 6. So I'm going to take a second and do that. And you don't have to be perfect on this, guys. You don't have to fill in every last space on your paper. Just fill them in all the way up to where it's pretty obvious that your bars are going up to 6. We're not trying to be perfect here. We're just trying to make it obvious how tall they are. So far, mine looks something like this. They both go up to 6 on 20 to 28 and 29 to 37. So I'm going to fill them up to 6. Okay. So then to finish this off, there are 2 more. On 38 to 46, we need a frequency of 5. So we're going to make our graph go all the way up to the 5. And then on 47 to 55, we're going to only have 3. So we're going to make our bar go to 3. So 38 to 46, I'm going to go up to 5 and fill it all the way down from there so that it will go to 5. And then on 47 to 55, it only needs 3. So I'm going to go ahead and fill that in as well. So my completed histogram should look something like this. As you can see, the first two intervals, 28 or 20 to 28 and 37, or sorry, and 29 to 37, both had 6. 38 to 46 had 5. 47 to 55 had 3 of them. And that's really all there is to the histogram. You just fill it in as high as it needs to go and do that to every column and you're done. So hopefully that answered your questions about histograms. If y'all need any further help on them, please message me and we will clarify that. So thank you guys, and hopefully that will be all the information you need on the histograms, but if not, just let me know. Thank you.